It's an interesting broadcasting platform that this was put on, and obviously we've had discussions with Turki Alalshikh about being a disruptor, dropping it on DAZN, dropping it on Netflix. What was interesting about this fight, somewhat like the Better Bivol fight, that to some people it was for the purists to some extent because of the skill of the protagonists. We saw Netflix figures come out that were 125 million for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, your mate, the fight that you validated, right? And then we saw 74 million or 60 million for Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano.
Right? He knocks you for getting a trip over to America to watch Mike Tyson, see him doing that ring walk again. You know what I mean?
But we got 41 million for this fight.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can read into those figures?
No, I don't think so. 41 million is a phenomenal number.
It is.
I think that, look, Jake Paul comes with his own audience, doesn't he? So you're going to get massive numbers.
Best part of 100 million digital
Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson. You know, I think with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, who done what they do, like 75 or something.
But that was off the back of
absolutely. That's where I was going to go. But 41 million to see that. Look, it's a way of the future. I was speaking to you, Bomac, upstairs about this one. I was saying, look, what did you think about Netflix? Do you think it's good for the game, and especially for American boxing that seems to have fallen off? I mean, Netflix is good for the sport, right?
I believe it is. I believe that's a beautiful thing because the fact that it's all over the world. Yeah. Any little small thing Netflix could pick will put out from UK to Dubai to the Philippines. They're all going to pick it up.
310 million viewers.
What do you think? What do you think about Netflix coming into the sport? You think it's a good thing?
I think the more places that this sport can be shown. I mean, Netflix is about entertainment, which is why, to some extent, you see the Disneyfication of it with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson and some of that stuff. I mean, if you're a boxing fan, I don't care where I can see it as long as I can see it. And if it grows the sport, if you've got 310 million people, I mean, the commercial deal, who knows what was done there? Turkey has still bankrolled the two fighters. I don't think he's taken any commercial money out of Netflix. I think he's doing it because he's playing with the broadcasters and seeing how much disruption he can create, where he wants to put it himself, because he's in the business of creating the best outcomes for the agenda that he has. But I don't think there's any disadvantage in it.
No, I think it captures a different audience, and I think that with American boxing at the moment, Bomac, it's needed right now. Something like that to capture that younger generation, which is where Netflix sits.
It definitely needed. America definitely needed because ESPN gone, HBO gone, Showtime gone. Where can I watch boxing at for free? You know?
Where is boxing in America right now? Like what, you know, like I said to you, that they were so dominant. You go back into the 80s and the 90s. You know, heavyweight division was dominated by Americans. Right. Yeah, you struggled to get in the top 10 even. You know, it was like that. But they've just fallen off now in recent times. Why is that? And will it come back?
Is it other sports, Bomac? Other sports?
I believe it's the other sports, the NFL, the NBA. You know, you got.
But you had them back in the day, though, right?
Yeah, but it's different now. You know, there's more money.
Right,
exactly.
You can give a basketball player $250 million for a 4-year deal. That's almost $50 million a year.
He's not getting punched in the face for it.
If a boxer had to work his whole career just to make $1 million, if you got the right person behind you.
Are you optimistic for American boxing? Because for so long it used to be the capital of boxing. Whenever I used to go away, and when I came to watch Lennox fight Hasim Rahman in Los Angeles, when I saw him fight Evander Holyfield in Madison Square Garden and in Las Vegas, it was the mecca, the best fighters, all the show and pomp and style came out of America. Are you optimistic for your side of the pond to start getting itself back into commission? Obviously, Terence is American, so I know that we're talking about a great fighter there. But in the other divisions, there seems to be a little bit of a dearth of top-end American fighters.
I tell you what, the American fighters, you listen to me, you got to be able to want to fight any and everybody in your weight class, or you got to be able to want to take chances in order for you to get that respect in America.
I mean, you look at even the amateur scene in America, they were so dominant in the Olympics, they would pick up like 9 gold medals at a time or whatnot. They don't figure in that no more. Like, how's the state of amateur boxing in America compared to what it was? And can they come back from that? How do they change that?
Well, you know, I haven't been around amateur boxing in a couple of years, so I do see the guys that's come around the gym.
But you hear the names coming through and whatnot.
Yeah, you hear them, and you hear them coming from the Olympics to the pros, but I think they could do better. I think the amateur boxing level, what they call the USA boxing, could do better.
I think they should do better now that it's 3 minutes with no head guards on as well, because it's more suited to the pros. It's more similar to the pros. It's not computer scored anymore, where you have to be a top amateur, then you have to adapt to be a good professional. I think now that the transition is more seamless, that we should see the good Americans coming through at the amateur ranks who can box like pros, because they're in the gyms with pros in 3 minute rounds with no headgear on in the amateurs, and it's easier to score. It's actually 10-point system now rather than computer scoring.
I want to bring up, just before we close the show, Dana White and his introduction into the sport. And I want to read you a quote. Obviously, we've seen Dana last week talking about maybe changing certain aspects of the Muhammad Ali Act, which I think will probably not fall on people's ears perhaps the way they'd want it to, because unless it's going to be equitable for the fighters, and most of the time when someone commercially changes something, it's for their benefit. So let's have a listen to, I want to read you something that Dana said last week and get your direct reaction to it, Paul. He was talking about what we did with the UFC is turn the UFC into an NFL, an NBA. There's a league, you reinvest into the sport, and other people want to invest in the sport, whether it's sponsors or any of these financial firms, whatever it may be. That's what needs to be done with boxing too, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do. When you hear that from Dana, I'll ask Bomac in a second what he thinks of it. When you hear that from Dana White, does that fill you with optimism, encouragement, or do you think, commercial angle, look what they've done with the UFC, look how the fighters were paid and that, look at the compensation claims that have been made against them, full stop. Are you optimistic or concerned?
I'm neither, but I'm not really optimistic, because the UFC is an unbelievable model. It's an unbelievable business. It's an unbelievable company. What he's did with that, he hats off to him, full respect to him. From the ground up. But you can't do that in boxing. Boxing's far more advanced and far more further down the road. It's already established. No promoter, in my opinion, is going to come in, create their own small league, let's say, where the fans all want to watch that. Any other fighter could just go and have a big fight in a big stadium somewhere else and get 70 million views, as you say, if they're not part of the league. I don't think he will be able to have that type of monopoly on boxing that he did in the UFC, in the MMA with UFC. Just like I saw the interview with Eddie Hearn, I don't think any promoter could go into MMA now and recreate what he's done with the UFC.
Do you? I mean, have you paid attention to Dana White, Bomac, and listened to what he's saying? I mean, insofar as replicating some of the success of the UFC into the boxing world, creating a league, him and Turki Alalshikh working together with TKO, the Muhammad Ali, all this noise coming out from Dana.
Yeah, I mean, I'm around it every day. You know, the guys over there, I know them all. You know, but like I told one guy, them fighters, man, they look to become world champions, a WBC world champion, the Ring Magazine world champion. And if Dana White wants to come in boxing and try to take that away, that's going to be awfully hard. Yeah. Because, man, I want to be an undisputed.
Write some big checks if you're going to have to.
I want to be an undisputed. I can't be undisputed if you take that away from me. Because when you're undisputed, that means you're the man. You're the man. So good luck to him.
There's a lot of history there for sure. And to take that, you know, we're talking about the Muhammad Ali Act and all that, and stripping those belts away, all that history. I think you killed the sport, if I'm totally honest. You know, talking about setting up your own rules, regulations, your own governing bodies.
Bomac just hit the nail on the head. You want to be the champion of the world. You want to be the undisputed champion of the world, not the champion of an organisation.
What do you think the fans will think of it, though? I mean, ultimately, we've seen so many controversies about who doesn't get to fight who and who hasn't got to fight when, right? And people have been able to avoid people left, right and centre. We've had Terence Crawford talking about the opportunities that weren't given him or afforded him in certain circumstances. We've seen, in a lesser degree, Dillian Whyte sitting in the background forever trying to get a shot against Tyson Fury. We've seen champions in recess with the WBC. We see some of the WBC come out giving people excuses left, right and centre. Wouldn't this be a bit fan-friendly, though?
It would, but look, I look at the UFC. You might not get a champion at UFC that will be a champion for long, because you're fighting the best in the division every time. And in boxing and the governing bodies, you will have mandatory challenges, but you will have a voluntary where you can have a bit of a softer touch as such. And the fans might not like that, but for fighters to progress in their careers, they're essential. You can't be fighting the number one challenger every single time for the belt, otherwise you won't have the belt for long. And then if you haven't got the belt for long, how do you build champions as a promoter? How do you have, you know, sort of stalwarts of your company that people can come and watch and support, and commercial opportunities? If the champion is always sort of chopping and changing because the best are fighting the best all the time. Now, I agree, the best fighting the best are the best fights, but it's not a sustainable model in my opinion.
Talking about commercial sustainability, just to finish shelf with this one, Turki Alalshikh's talked about pay-per-view, and it's a bit of a red herring in terms of what he thinks pay-per-view is going to become in terms of abolishing it. Do you think pay-per-view will be around in 10 years, Paul?
I think with streaming, I think we've just been speaking about Netflix. Now, I have Netflix, I'm sure everyone you probably have Netflix. You have it, if you're then getting a top-class fight on Netflix on a subscription that you're already paying, which is a good subscription because you see things and programs that you want to watch, then that's win-win. If you try and price it, like in the States, it's $75 or something for the pay-per-view.
More, isn't it?
More, maybe.
More.
Like, it's quite expensive, whereas if things are affordable, they won't go and watch it on an illegal stream, or they won't go and try and watch it on one of the dodgy boxes, which nearly everyone in the country has. So therefore, you make it affordable for the viewer. They will buy it, but they'll pay for it without realising they're actually paying for it because they already have that subscription on Netflix. I think the Netflix idea is an unbelievable idea. I think it's a brilliant
Yeah,
business.
it's a bit of a red herring, though, isn't it? Because Turkey was talking about the pay-per-view being taken away, but what he's going to do is he's going to build a subscription model, which is basically a premium, less of a premium. So if you pay $20 a month for your Netflix or 10 quid a month that we pay over here, you want the boxing framework, so you don't pay for pay-per-view. You might end up paying 25 quid a month. So you end up in slightly the same position, but it won't look like you're paying
You've
pay-per-view
still got your
on the
pay-per-view model, for sure.
Absolutely.
I think it sticks around. I think
it's all food for thought, isn't it?
Listen, I think the pay-per-view model's been around long enough now for people to accept, and like Paul says, if you have that affordability and it's priced in the right bracket, then it works.
What you want is post-Turki Alalshikh's involvement in sport, you want the sport to continue to progress, to evolve. You want the fighters to keep on getting rewarded because ultimately it's the fighters that should get the bulk of the money, not the promoters and not the broadcasters. That's what you want.
They said it with music, didn't they, when downloading started, that's the end of the music industry, and they just learned how to adapt with it. And all of a sudden now you've got Apple Music, you've got Spotify, it evolves. There will be a way of doing it with the boxing where good top fights will be able to be staged, but the fighters receive the benefit from it.
Perfect. Right, that's it for episode 139 of Talk Boxing. Thanks Spencer, thanks Paul, and of course, thanks Bomac. And do come back after you've won your fight against Conor Ben.
I definitely will.
Good man. And we'll see you guys next time we're out.